Bernie's live talking about Israel.
And other infections have taken hold. Madam President, Gaza has 12 universities. Every single one of them has been bombed, as have hundreds of schools. 88% of all school buildings in Gaza have been damaged. Every university bombed, 88% of all school buildings in Gaza have been damaged, and more than 500 people have been killed while sheltering in UN schools. There are many, many hundreds of thousands
Bernie's
of
not
children.
finally on it. It's just Senate is back in session. What do you mean? He's been doing this. He's done this since October 7, chat. Come on.
I've been in school since.
The issue is he's done this before. He's done this way before October 7, and he's done this since October 7. There are issues that I have with the way Bernie communicates this problem, specifically because he knows better, and my expectations are much higher than him, from him than anyone else. Both not only as a, living, breathing socialist senator, but also as a Jewish man, a Jewish American who fucking ran for president, who was outflanking everybody else on the issue of what to do with Israel far before October 7. My expectations are significantly higher from him for these reasons. Ultimately, he's still infinitely better than Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, but that doesn't really mean anything. Who cares if he's Jewish? What do you mean? Judaism, in its long history and its cultural aspects, is incredibly revolutionary.
For this starvation and suffering, and that is that Israel has severely restricted the amount of humanitarian aid, including food, water, and medical supplies, that can reach the desperate people of Gaza. This, Madam President, is a clear violation of U.S. and international law. Not just immoral, not just outrageous, but a clear violation of U.S. and international law. And Madam President, every day, every single day, the bombardment continues. Bombing and shelling carried out with U.S.-provided weaponry, often financed in large part by American taxpayers. U.S. weapons financed by U.S. taxpayers.
Yep.
In the last year alone, Congress has voted to send more than $10 billion in American taxpayer dollars to the extremist Israeli government to buy more of the bombs and more of the weapons they are using to wage war against the Palestinian people. Madam President, enough is enough. U.S. complicity in this horrific war must end. With a group
when he
of
says
colleagues,
Madam President, I think he's talking about Kamala Harris, who is the leader, who's presiding over the Senate.
Resolutions of disapproval.
That's who Madam President refers to.
Some $20 billion in
the vice president presides over the Senate. He's speaking to her. She's the president of the Senate.
Congress has to block arms sales which are inconsistent with
think.
Established U.S. and international law.
If it's not her right
The
now,
Senate
it's probably someone
will
else.
vote
But
on these measures.
that's how you refer to them.
Let me outline briefly why it is critical that we prevent these sales from going forward. Madam President, I have laid out the horrible reality of the situation in Gaza, but the sad truth is that much of this carnage has been carried out with U.S. provided
It could also be Patty Murray, the current president pro tempore, Patty Murray of Washington.
Equipment. Put simply,
It's probably not Kamala Harris.
To continue this disastrous war would be immoral. It would also be illegal. These sales directly contradict the stated purpose of the Foreign Assistance Act of 1961 and the Arms Export Control Act. These laws require that U.S. arms transfers to foreign countries must be consistent with internationally recognized human rights, advance U.S. foreign policy interests, and avoid U.S. complicity with any human rights violations. That is the purpose of these laws. Madam President, during the August recess, the administration sent to Congress official notice for several sales to Israel that clearly do not meet these criteria. The arms sales total over $20 billion and include transfers of joint direct attack munitions, or JDAMs, 120 millimeter tank rounds, 120 millimeter high explosive mortar rounds, medium tactical vehicles, and up to 50 new F-15 fighter aircraft, as well as upgrades for some of Israel's current F-15s. All of these systems have been used in Gaza, causing massive death and suffering to innocent men, women, and children. The JDAMs and 120 millimeter tank rounds in particular have been used indiscriminately and are responsible for a significant portion of the civilian
Why do you think the
casualties.
attitude changed? Bernie's attitude on Israel didn't change. He's just a liberal Zionist, and I am frustrated by how much further he should be taking his rhetoric at this point.
Leading to
But this is like normal for Bernie. Everyone that says this is like new or unique hasn't been paying close attention to what Bernie is. Bernie
hundreds of
has said.
eyewitness testimonies, photographs, videos, and satellite imagery all underscore one simple point. These weapons are being used in violation of U.S. and international law. I have a list here of some of the most egregious incidents involving these systems. Tragically, the list is too long for me to read here on the floor, but Madam President, I ask that this list
Yeah,
be
he's not
included
even a
in the
liberal. He's
congressional
more than a
record.
liberal Zionist.
Without
That,
objection.
you're right. You're right about that. Time without an oval. You're
Madam
giving liberal
President,
Zionists a lot of credit by
The
calling him that.
administration's
Yeah, I agree.
report pursuant to National
He
Security
goes above and
Memorandum
beyond.
20
He's not just a
concluded
liberal.
that,
He's not a
quote,
liberal Zionist, but he
it
definitely
is
still has
reasonable
that.
to assess that defense articles have been used
All
by
I'll
Israel.
say is he's not anti-Zionist. Okay, that's it. He's not anti-Zionist. Ofer Kassev is the difference. Dr. Ofer Kassev is a member of the Israeli Knesset. He is an anti-Zionist. Look at the way that he communicates on these issues versus the way Bernie communicates on these issues, and you will recognize. Having said that, however, yes, if every Democrat had this position, the genocide would end. Absolutely. If every single Democratic Party member had Bernie's opinion and Bernie's courage and communicated what was going on in Israel in the way that he does, then, there would be no more apartheid. Palestinian here, he's a liberal Zionist. He's a two-stater who thinks Bibi and Likud are the problem. What makes him go above and beyond? I mean, liberal Zionists will say it's unconscionable that the ICC and ICJ are prosecuting Israel, as they openly have said, despite being like Benjamin Netanyahu's primary opposition. Yair Lapid comes to mind when I think of like liberal Zionism. Okay? Bernie Sanders, on the other hand, will openly be like, what Israel is doing is unconscionable. They're doing war crimes, and the ICC and the ICJ are good. So he definitely goes way above and beyond. He doesn't just like single out Benjamin Netanyahu. He does single out Benjamin Netanyahu regularly, but he doesn't stop there. He is on the spectrum, but he's not. He is closer to anti-Zionism than like who you would consider to be a liberal Zionist normally. Bernie Sanders has time and time again called into question our undying loyalty and allegiance to Israel. He has regularly talked about stopping weapons transfers. He literally ran on, if I'm president, I will not give Israel weapons. Okay? That's very important to understand. Pre-October 7. Pre-October 7. A lot of you found out about the fucking brutality, not the Palestinian chatter, but like many Americans found out about the brutality post-October 7. Okay? Yeah. I think October 7, especially the attacks on the kibbutzim, broke him a little bit. Straight up. That's my assessment. I don't know what is in anyone's mind, but like as the number one Bernie stan, knowing that he lived in the kibbutz at a certain point in his life, I think like that kind of brought this issue close to home to him in a very emotional way that I think changed his it changed his analysis a little bit because his statements, I mean, he was getting fucking outflanked by AOC, dude. That's crazy, okay? The reason why I say this, you will never see a liberal Zionist voice criticism of the IDF's conduct on moral grounds. You don't even see that from the Zionist left. They'll mention strategic issues here and there, but they never dare show pictures of the destruction in Gaza. Yeah. Well, you're talking about liberal Zionists in Israel and the Zionist left in Israel versus liberal Zionism in America. Like liberal Zionists in America will say like, oh, the settlers are awful. And oh, well, you know, there's like definitely Zionist left. Yes, that is a thing in Israel. Okay. Some national socialism going on. Yes. Probably more so than anywhere else. Yeah. 100%. That's a real thing. Dudes who are like liberal Zionists in America know better than to let anyone know they're Zionists, to be honest, like AOC. Chat, AOC has called what Israel's doing a genocide. I am not going to have this conversation with you because you're fucking hyped up, okay? Sorry. AOC has outflanked Bernie Sanders consistently on the issue of Israel. Get the fuck out of here. I don't care to have this conversation with you over and over again. It is so ridiculous, dude. Just analyze the situation adequately. AOC has a lot of fucking awful positions on this throughout this conflict, okay? Throughout this genocide. But if every single American politician or a decent number of American Democrats maintained AOC's position on the matter, this would be a very different conversation, okay? Holy moly. Like everybody hyper focuses on our lying and saying that the Democrats are working tirelessly for a ceasefire, which is a ridiculous thing to say, and forgetting all of the other shit that she says in terms of like calling it what it is, a fucking genocide. There's like 4 people in Congress that have done so. Okay? You guys are, on the one hand, you just made them more angry, boss. I know. They have a hyperfixation. And they don't understand like the things that you say, American congressperson will never say. Okay? What good does calling it a genocide do now? If it does no good, why won't other American politicians do it? If it doesn't move the needle at all, you just moved your position entirely. I'm honest about it. I'm telling you right now. AOC has outflanked Bernie Sanders on the issue of Israel, which is shocking. Grift, you know this. Okay, dude. Yeah, you guys are right.
It may, just may, begin to restore a shred of you.
Bro, half the chat can't even talk shit about Israel around their parents without it getting lump in their throat. Tired of this. Yeah. Only those who are not sure of themselves can fear to enter into temporary alliances, even with unreliable people. Not a single political party could exist without such alliances. Lenin.
61% of Americans oppose sending weapons and supplies to Israel, including 77% of Democrats, 62%
Why is it shocking for AOC to outflank Bernie?
Republicans as well.
She's younger. She also sometimes like has a rad lib tendency. Like the difference is, you know, she'll hyper focus on like optics and whatnot on certain instances. So I think it's shocking in a situation where like someone who is that optics focused will just come out and straight up be like, Israel's doing a genocide. This has to stop. That right there is, that's it for me. As the biggest voice on the left, shouldn't you voice against some influencer on the left that obviously have some personal vendetta since the FTV and attack on others on the left? For example, I don't care. When people that repeat those statements come into this chat, I'll yell at them. That's it. How about accountability? TLDR, Jojo and I wants you to start drama with Bree Joy. Yeah, I don't really give a shit. I don't care to do so. All right, let's get back to Bernie.
Threatened to withhold $10 billion in loan guarantees unless Israel stops settlement expansion. In other words, using arms sales and military aid as leverage is not a new idea done under Republican presidents, Democratic presidents.
Yep.
There is also recent precedent of Congress acting to stop the indiscriminate bombing of civilians. In 2019, Congress passed a series of JRDs to block arms sales to Saudi Arabia over its bombing campaign in Yemen. At that point, the Saudi coalition was directly responsible for roughly 8,000 civilian deaths over 4 years, mostly from airstrikes. Israel has killed 41,000 in less than a year. Madam President, blocking these cells would also be in keeping with actions taken by the international community and some of our closest allies. So what I'm suggesting here is not unique in the world, taking place all over the world, including some of our closest allies. There has been widespread condemnation of Israel's conduct during this war from governments around the world, international institutions, and humanitarian organizations. The United Kingdom recently suspended 30 export licenses for a range of armaments after concluding there was an unacceptable risk they could be used in violation of international humanitarian law. Germany has not approved an offensive weapon transfer since March. Italy, Spain, Canada, Belgium, and the Netherlands have taken similar steps. United Nations bodies have called for an end to the arms shipments fueling the conflict. Madam President, we cannot continue to ignore what the extremist Netanyahu government is doing in Gaza. We cannot continue to be complicit in this humanitarian disaster. The time is long overdue for the U.S. Senate to act, and we must act. I hope my colleagues will support this effort on the floor, and my office is ready to answer any questions that senators may have. Madam President, I yield the floor.
Madam President.
Senator from Louisiana.
Oh, here we go. Oh, we missed it. I wonder what fucking John Kennedy has to say. Combine both of them, and you get a leftist position. Fact sheet 502 BC of the Foreign Assistance Act and Senator Bernie Sanders' resolution on Israel and Gaza. Ocasio-Cortez defends accusing Israel of genocide in floor speech. Yeah, that's it. What she did other than calling it a genocide, though, she did no policy push. She did not use her platform. Also, she did a photo op with the IDF soldier. Yes, guys, she is secretly in the pocket, okay? The question you must ask is, why won't Bernie call it a genocide? Also, all of this stuff is so petty.
Nobody said.
It's like straight up, we're just straight up doing drama at this point. Like, completely irrelevant, place of power, powerlessness, petty drama. Like, focus your attention on, bigger scumbags.